Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Building the Decision Tool. For this episode, the main goal is going to be to set up um, React, and in order to set up React, we're also going to have to set up Babel. Um, and that's because React really depends on, or the best way to write React is to use JSX, and JavaScript does not have out-of-the-box support for JSX. And so we're going to need Babel installed and configured to make that work. So this should be pretty straightforward, but I'm sure I just jinxed it. So let's see what happens. So the very first thing I'm going to do is add some Babel packages. So Babel core, add Babel. Babel, that's just the core functionality. We have polyfill, which is for polyfilling browsers that don't have the latest stuff to have the latest stuff. We're going to have some presets. So preset env, which is pretty much used every single time you use Babel, and of course preset React, because we're also using React. And I think the other thing we need to do is Babel loader. Babel loader is used by Webpack to run the JavaScript through Babel when webpacking it, basically. So I forgot to say yarn add. I just said yarn, but yeah, here we go. So you'll yarn add all of these packages, and an unexpected. What did I do wrong there? Polyfill. Poly. I think I misspelled this. I think this needs one L. Looks like it's working this time. So that's going to add a whole bunch of stuff into the project. Whoa, there we go. And the other thing I'm going to add is React and React DOM. Again, I always forget to say yarn add for some reason, but alright. Yarn add React, React DOM. Okay, so that should handle our package setup. The next thing we need to do is provide a basic Babel configuration. So new file here. Let's call this .babel babelrc, and nothing too complicated it needs to go in here. We have our presets, so we need to define our presets, and this is literally just going to be at Babel. Babel slash preset env, and at Babel preset React, the two presets we just installed. So that'll be there. I think we also need to update our Webpack and to tell it to use the Babel loader. So we do that by adding a module section and give it some rules. And actually, this is not an object. This is an array, but within it, it's going to have an object. Alright, so test. And the test is going to be against all files ending with JS. And go from there. We're going to exclude node modules. Boom. And we're going to use loader Babel loader. And you know what? I'm not actually sure if this is, if we want this exclude in here or not. We might actually want that. But you know what? We'll wait and see. Alright, so that should have Webpack configuration then. And then the next thing to do is just actually set this up. So I'm going to head over to our index. And right now we've still got our console log from last time, but let's start writing this, writing sort of a, this is going to be our entry point for the application. So we're just going to, this is where we're going to actually mount our React app and go from there. So we're going to import React from React, and we're going to import React DOM from React DOM. Those are the two React packages that we added just a moment ago. And we need a simple app component, so I'm going to say const app equals, and I think we'll still have hello world here, so we'll just say div hello world. Alright, and putting the HTML in our JavaScript, this is JSX, this is what I was referring to before, and the reason why we need Babel. Also, Node doesn't have support for these module styles, so Babel's going to provide some other things too, but the big thing is the JSX support. So we're going to create a main function, and inside this we're going to create a DOM node to add to the HTML web page. So I'm going to call this root, and we're going to say document.createElement, and it's just going to be a div. Sure, let's go for div. That sounds okay to me. And document.body.appendChild. So we're going to add it into the document, and then we're going to actually render our app into that element. So we'll say React DOM dot render, and we're going to say app and tell it the DOM element. So it's going to go into, it's going to take app, render that into the root, which has been added to the body, and the only thing left is to actually invoke this function. So we'll just say main down here and save it. And at this point, if we run our little application, it ought to work. So we're just going to say yarn start from our command line. It compiled, which is always a good sign. We refresh this, and now we see hello world, and it's actually on the web page itself, not down in the console. So that's what React has given us. So let's maybe break this out a little bit. So obviously our app is going to be a lot more complicated than just hello world. So let's take this and delete that, and go create an actual app component. So we'll just say app.js, and we always have to import React, and we're going to say export const app, and we're going to return, and I like using flexboxes for layout, but I'm not sure if I want to go ahead and add that in, but you know, why not? It doesn't hurt anything. So I kind of want to keep my dev running, but I still want to work in the console. So I'm going to spin up a new tmux session. Tmux is just it stands for terminal multiplexer. It's a way to, it does quite a few things, but the thing that I'm going to be using it for is to tile my console and keep multiple things running at the same time within a single console window. So let's create a new session called decision tool. Alright, so over here I can say yarn start, and that's going to be running over there. And over here I'm going to add a new package. So this will be yarn add flexbox react. So flexbox react is just a simple React component around the HTML flexbox functionality. And I like using it because I don't have to, it provides just a nicer interface for dealing with flexboxes. So over here, now I'm going to say import flexbox from flexbox react. Alright, so that's there. So I'm going to say flexbox. I don't know what it's actually going to look like at this point. So I'm just going to say render this flexbox. I'm going to put parentheses around it because that ought to help things a little bit. And we'll provide a title. So this is actually decision tool. And if we come up here, it should refresh. Oh, right, I have to actually wire this up. So back over here, should be broken at the moment. Oh, I haven't saved it. Right, so if you remember right, I took app out of this file. That's going to lead to a compilation error. Yep, app is not defined. So now let's define it again. So I'm going to import app from app. And actually, this is a named export. There we go. now we have decision tool. The text is there, and we're off to a pretty good start. Is there any other changes that I want to make at this point before we have the end of this episode? No, I think that's probably a pretty good stopping point. So let's um, commit this and move on to the next step. So this is going to be the things we've done is we've set up React, set up Babel, and created a simple app component. So let's take a look at what our status looks like. So we've added a yarn.log. Oh, we have a yarn error.log. We don't want to put that in source control, so we're going to go add that to our git ignore. And that was yarn error log. So yarn error.log. No need to have that. And what else was our... So we've modified our package, we've modified our index, we've modified our web config, yarn lock, of course. If you remember, that's an auto-generated file, so we're not even going to really worry about that. We have our .babelrc and our source app. So if we say git status again, you'll notice yarn error is no longer there, and that's because we've added it to our .gitignore. So let's get all that and git commit -m. So again, we've set up Babel. We have set up React and created a simple app component. All right, we're back to green, no changes, and I think we will call it here. So thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.